welcome you to the 2018 USA Ultimate Club National Championships. On a beautiful day in San Diego, we're set for the second semifinal in our quadruple header, and this one in the men's division, the 4th seed Raleigh Ring of Fire, and the top seed San Francisco Revolver, the 5-time national champion this decade. For the first time in a while in the men's division, the top 4 seeds in the semis, and an upset, if you can call it that, Pony over Sockeye, 3-2 earlier today in a thriller. Pony Revolver tomorrow, or could it be Pony Ring? Raleigh has been yearning for a win over Revolver on a stage like this. They have another opportunity, but 2 years in a row, Ian Toner, Revolver has ended Ring season in this game. Can you call it a rivalry when Ring hasn't beaten Revolver in a game like this?
Well, when the goal differential in those games has been so close, an average of 2 goals, 4 goals total over those 2 differences, I think it's a budding rivalry. Coach Mike DeNardis has reason to believe that this is going to be a different story in this semifinal. He thinks his team has learned from their losses over the years in this season, and that they finally found a way to integrate some of the new pieces on their roster.
Ring is undeniably talented, and these two teams on paper, from a talent standpoint, match up perhaps as close as anyone has with Revolver during San Francisco's run. The question is for Ring, the mental game. Do they believe in the biggest moments? One reason to believe is Jack Williams. He's played out of his mind.
Yeah, he's been a game changer on both sides of the disc. You take a look at his stat line there. 8 goals, 5 assists on the weekend. No assist more important than the game-winning assist in Ring's double game point victory over Machine in pool play, staving off an upset and preserving their position at the top of the pool.
For years and years, San Francisco Revolver has been the standard in the sport. This decade, unmatched success. 5 national titles, a slew of world championships. Revolver's never lost a semifinal at nationals. They're 8-0 in the semis. And Ashland Joy continues his reign as the premier quarterback in the sport.
He is the archetypal quarterback, central handler, whatever you want to call him, the epitome of calm, collected leadership and capable offensive distribution. There's really no other handler in the game that can distribute the way he does, that can play defense after the turn the way he does. Revolver is incredibly fortunate to have him on their offense.
He's had some great downfield cutters. Simon Higgins and Antoine Davis have been playing fantastic too. A lot of anticipation for this game. Fans enjoying the shade where they can find it. We've got a tremendous matchup. Ring and Revolver next. The 2018 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate, providing Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. Visit VC Ultimate on the web at vcultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Looking at 7 on the line for Raleigh Ring of Fire, the veteran Goose Helton, who's got a history in trying out for Revolver. Lanier Fisher, the young man out of Carleton University, the young men out of Carleton, with the Atlanta transplant, Alan LaViolette, and then the North Carolina stars, both in Chapel Hill and in Wilmington, with Goose Johannes, Nethercutt, and Williams. For San Francisco, the positionless crew, and the name to note, Lucas Dahlman, just rejoined Revolver, one of the captains for the last several years. His wife gave birth to twins earlier this month. He wasn't going to be able to make the trip, but he surprised his team this morning. Only one other member of Revolver knew that he was coming, and you wonder how that will transform the energy of this team that is always intense. But how will they fare against this Ring team that is known for its intensity as well? Cassidy Rasmussen playing D-line for San Francisco after starting on so many years. Megan Tormey, what's the deal with Cassidy?
Well, he's one of those players who have developed so many different aspects of his game. It's going to be difficult for the Ring coaching staff to know how to handle a player like Rasmussen. He's just, like I said, developed so many aspects of his game. He's a threat in multiple avenues. So Ring is going to have to stay agile and on their toes to stop the threat he poses.
Martin Cochran, the new coach of Revolver, former player for the San Francisco squad from 2008 to 2014. And how about Lucas Dahlman, not only showing up, but jumping on the line for this opening point of the semifinals. We got a picture-perfect day. There's Lucas. His twin boys, Wesley and Julian, were born on October 1st. Like many premature babies, he said, they came into the world with some challenges, but they've been crushing the challenges. He says it's been really inspiring. They had flights to San Diego, he and his wife did, for every day of nationals. And, well, hold that thought, because that's Joel Silver, one of the men credited with creating the sport. And it appears he's going to launch something of an opening pull from midfield. And there we go. And, well, Goose Helton keeps it in bounds. Joel Silver in 1968 in Maplewood, New Jersey, with some of his friends, created a game that they thought was the ultimate game. Here we are 50 years later on ESPN with a level of athleticism and intensity I doubt he imagined. He talked about how he thought people would be playing this game all over the world, but I'm not sure he envisioned the athleticism, intensity, and passion with which we embrace this sport. 50th anniversary celebration continues with a potential for history in this semifinal game. Revolver on defense and gold as Nethercutt shoots it deep. And that's caught by Jack Williams. He beats Cassidy Rasmussen for the opening score, and it takes just seconds for Ring to strike.
Phased by the wind, any adverse conditions. Simple flowing offense.
Well, Raleigh is going to take some shots. That's part of who they are. They have great talented throwers and deep cutters to do it. One of the things that Martin Cochran, the Revolver coach, told me is, he said they don't want to get lulled into a hucking game like Ring. And he said that can be hard sometimes because we're pretty good at it too, and it's fun. It's fun to get involved in a hucking game. But he knows that they're better when they grind. So a turnover-free first point. Ian, how have you seen Williams and Nethercutt grow together as Ring has once again gone undefeated at nationals through pool play and into the semifinals?
I think Nethercutt has become more of that central quarterback handler. And while Nethercutt has crossed over and played defense in important moments, I think Williams has been the better rounded downfield threat. He can come back and handle when he needs to, but more often than not, he creates separation and dictates matchups downfield.
Tim McAllister matches up with Ashlyn Joy. Jordan Marcy bothered by Saul Yannick.
McAllister, one of those roster changes late in the year. He joined the team after its run to the quarterfinals of the World Ultimate and Club Championships. Didn't really start playing with the team until the championship series started.
He has played with Ring previous years. Davis, he was looking for Stubbs, and he finds Lindsley instead. Justin Allen has the Grant Lindsley matchup on Revolver's opening 0 point. Joel Schlockett. And Misha Freistadter got a piece of that reset.
And that's exactly what Denardis was envisioning in drawing up that matchup, using Freistadter's huge mark.
Misha played with Florida United last year, moving up to the North Carolina Triangle and becoming a key addition for Raleigh this year. Joy bouncing that mark around to Sanchez in the middle. Now Freistadter on him in a switch. And Brett Matsuka was hanging on Joy's back, and then Sanchez threw it down, but Joy called a foul. and it looked like a reasonable call because Matsuka climbed on his back. Let's see if the observers agree.
Who called the foul?
I believe that you heard kick, stopped, then you turned it over, and then you called the foul.
But hold on, but if the foul,
Who
I wasn't gonna call.
Who called the foul?
Revolver.
Okay. All right. You got it.
The mark, and I fell down, calling the foul.
I'm coming to you. I mean,
Okay, observer ruling the call on the field was pick. The foul call was too late. There is no foul on the play on this foul.
Wow.
Tap it in.
So here we see Matsuka marking Joy on the dump. And goodness. That's a tough one. Let's get a look at that one later after the next
let's
stoppage.
revisit that as Justin Allen fires a monster flick. In the end zone, it's Antoine Davis rising up for the D over Jacob Fairfax.
Look, Revolver's not going to give you the disc that many times this game. You can't be taking 50-50 shots, especially with Antoine Davis in the area.
Davis in his second year with Revolver has just been getting better and better. It's kind of scary how good he is, and he's just 25. Ring certainly prides itself defensively on trying to make things difficult for Revolver.
There's been a lot of downfield switching. We see Misha Freistatter now is drawing the Grant Lindsley matchup.
And they're switching relentlessly downfield. And right now, Freistatter's just hanging out in the deep space. Playing deep as Lindsley hits Davis, who's wide open. And now Sanchez at midfield.
Marcelo Sanchez is totally unmarked in the backfield.
Marcy in the end zone. Stubbs with the assist. And there's a lot to break down from what happened in this sequence. First, we'll show you the score, and then we'll take you back to the sequence with Joy and Matsuka on the goal line.
Well, Stubbs really got things started with a risky scooper that just went over that first poach, but fell in just in that secondary pocket where Lindsley was able to attack. And once they broke through there, the Revolver handling core was off to the races.
So here's the sequence on the goal line. I think pretty clearly that's a foul. Matsuka also called a pick, and here's the issue. Joy didn't call a foul. He wanted to play through the contact, and then they thought he called a pick. And if you call a pick and then throw it and it's a turnover, it's a turn.
Right.
But if he didn't call the foul soon enough, perhaps the throw after the pick was also too far after the call, if you understand what I'm saying.
I think I'm following you. In essence, Joy needed to call the foul as it happened or before Matsuka uttered his pick call.
Are you okay with Joy playing through that contact and not calling the foul?
Yes, that's his choice. That's a conscious choice he's making. I also think he should have the option to call that foul
After the sequence unfolds?
You're getting into a gray area there.
It's the entire
I know you're trying to put me on the spot.
Ring on offense. Lucio Hannes. And here's Williams with Byron Liu chasing him, and Williams uncorks deep. Henry Fisher. He's got it. A corkscrew grab on the goal line over Greg Cohen. And a timeout called by Ring. Henry Fisher grew up in Durham, part of that young Triforce contingent that grew up playing together, coached by Jonathan Nethercutt and Mike Donardis. This is the hucking game that Revolver doesn't want to get lulled into, but it works for Ring.
Yeah, they've got a decisive size advantage in a lot of those matchups. You know, Lou giving up an inch or two to Williams. Cohen is a big frame defender, but he's not quite as big as the lanky Henry Fisher either. And Ring is just showing that they're not fazed by the Revolver one-on-one matchups. They're not fazed by the wind. They want to prove to this Revolver defense that they are capable of stretching the field and that the Revolver defenders need to respect the deep looks. And I'll be interested to see how later in the game, if that opens up more slow underneath progressive looks because defenders are biting on deep pump fakes or backing receivers.
Fisher will have the disc out of the timeout. Goose Johannes has reset Williams, his ISO in the end zone. And Byron Lou comes to double Williams near the goal line. So the swing goes to Nethercutt. Liam Searles Bowes, 19-year-old youth product from the triangle, hits Williams.
And that's a little easier than I think the Revolver defense might have wanted. Yes, Henry Fisher had to make a play, but after the stoppage, after the reset, just a nice little front cone shot to Williams. I think Stubbs got caught trying to decide between purely body watching and seeing when he was going to take a check back in at the disc. I do think that could be a great matchup, John Stubbs on Jack Williams, but not the optimal defense there.
Well, watching this Ring offense throughout the weekend and throughout the season, you can be blown away at times by how young they are. I mean, there are times Goose Helton will play offense and he's a 34-year-old vet, and Jonathan Nethercutt is a veteran at 26. But you see young 23-year-old Terrence Mitchell, 22-year-old Henry Fisher, Liam Searles Bowes at 19, Matt Goose Johannes at 22. It's intriguing that they put the youth in such a position of responsibility. They have that trust. And it also makes you think of what this group can grow into in the decade ahead.
Yeah, if you were going to do something like a power rankings feature for these programs, ranking their young prospect pools and how they're going to size up 3 seasons down the road, I'd say Ring is very close to the top of that list, if not at the top.
Well, of course, the question is, will they all move to San Francisco or Seattle at some point in the next 5 years? As we often see in the men's division, a lot of the top players on Revolver, guys that have matriculated to the Bay.
Or New York is becoming the new hot spot, right?
We'll see if that's a multi-year thing. We've got a chance in the finals against one of these two teams. Oh, that's out of the reach of Tom Doy on the sideline. This is Jacob Fairfax. Just graduated from UNC Charlotte this past spring, was a top 5 Callahan finisher, despite the fact that his college team wasn't really relevant on the national stage.
We look at Lindsley trying to step and break the mark with that inside backhand. Not sure how much the wind impacted that release.
Brett Matsuka to Freystadter. Here's Fairfax. Joey Cretella over the top of Joy to Noah Saul for the ring break.
Hey, this isn't the first time we've seen the Ring D-line notch an early break against Revolver in a national semifinal. But I do like the decision-making on this D-line offensive run compared to that last shot on the previous opportunity. Rather than pulling the trigger from midfield with other defenders in the area, they kept marching that disc up the 4th sideline and didn't pull the trigger until one of their receivers had separation deep on the break side.
Confident toss from Cretella as Ring leads 3-1. Let's check in with Megan.
You may notice around Noah Saul's neck a necklace that's called the break chain. Whoever gets the break then gets to wear that until the next break is scored. So he will be donning that piece of jewelry for a little while now. Manny
Diaz started a phenomenon. Manny Diaz, Mark Richt's defensive coordinator at the University of Miami. They started the turnover chain at the U. They had one of the greatest turnover seasons in terms of forcing giveaways in the history of college football last year. And now it's taken over. You got the first game of the football season on the Thursday night. You saw Tulane University with the turnover beads, the Mardi Gras beads. Florida State has the backpack. That one needs some work. Ring's turnover chain looks pretty good. Revolver on offense. Davis floats it. This to Higgins. He's got the mismatch. And it's actually George Stubbs through the contact who punts the spike a mile.
Well, Stubbs has a few inches on J.D. Hastings, and maybe even an inch or two on Eric Taylor, the help defender who came in as this throw hung a little higher than he wanted. But goodness, George has been making these plays in these settings for years. Just think back to a year like 2011 or 2012 when he was on the Next Gen poster, skying a pile against Revolver when he was competing with Boston Ironside. He is no stranger to these settings.
Is that a card-worthy play from Eric Taylor?
It didn't look like it to me on first glance. You know, he's trying to make that play from the backside. I don't think there's real malice as he's coming in.
Yes, Ringo!
Is that what you saw on first glance?
Well, Revolver on its road to the championship. Perfect through pool play. There was a play in the Madison Club game, which Revolver already won the pool, but they had traded 5-5 and then won basically 15-6. George Stubbs had a contested catch and a spike that initiated this run of intensity. But I think, to answer your question, Ian, there's no question George Stubbs was fouled. Now he caught it. Here's the deep shot for Goose Helton, and that's an easy score. But there needs to be some punishment for George Stubbs getting clobbered as he makes the catch. That's why I think, I'm not sure if a card is what is appropriate there.
Well, we've had these conversations before, right? You know, what merits a blue card, a yellow card? Is enforcement and issuance consistent across the board?
Oh, that's an obvious no. All right.
And I don't disagree with you. I just think that's something that the observing corps has to work on to standardize, clarify, and generally be more consistent with. And if that means taking another look at some of those criteria and maybe making it easier to issue a card for something that may be dangerous, then so be it.
Go back to the play we're talking about, Davis's floater to George Stubbs. He's jockeying for position with J.D. Hastings. That's fine.
That doesn't look like a clobber to me.
Okay. That's fair.
I think their torsos bumped while in the air, but I don't think Taylor's forearm made any contact with Stubbs while he was in the air.
If George doinks it off his hand, does he call a foul and is it upheld?
I need to look at that again and see if Taylor went straight up or if he came into Stubbs' space.
Anyway, let's focus on Revolver's O-line, trailing by a break. Joy breaks the mark to Eli Friedman, who's taking on a bigger role on offense, and he uncorks a big backhand. Grant Lindsley not going to have a chance because Jacob Fairfax eats it up. Centers to Noah Saul. Got Freystadter going deep. He threw it I thought to Freestadter, but Misha peeled off and came underneath.
And you could see how upset Misha is, gesturing with his arms after that throw went up. Joy picks up and rips.
Lindsley is not going to get this one on the 75-yard huck from Joy, and you see what happens there. Revolver's second turnover of the point, and we're in the replay. That was a shot. It's hard to overthrow Grant Lindsley, but Grant had no shot.
And I also wonder if Ashland is having trouble calibrating to this wind that might be at his back or providing a slight crosswind.
Freestadter chased by Joy to Mitchell. David Richardson. Now Freistadter, who can have an impact the way Bo Kittredge did during his Revolver days of just bleeding you to death with unders. Riser to the brink of the end zone for Mitchell.
And you look at the way Mike DeNardis has been using him this tournament, this game. He's been utilized as that stifling mark, using his huge body, his huge wingspan, his huge frame to suffocate the release points of other teams' best handlers. You saw him drawing the Schlackett matchup earlier. Now he's on Joy this point.
Good end zone offense, and that's another break for Raleigh. Richardson finds McAllister after the patient and precise disc movement near the end zone.
So there's another look at Joy's shot. No doubt Lindsley had separation, but just wagering a guess from up here in the booth, it seemed like Joy didn't quite calibrate that into the wind appropriately. And as we look at Ring in the end zone, in the red zone, shooting into the end zone, they are now 2 for 5 on break chances early in this first half.
Ring looks sharp, Revolver looks shaky. And San Francisco takes a timeout to talk it over. Mike Payne, who has coached Revolver for several years after playing for San Francisco during the early days of the program, he has gone from head coach to assistant coach, couldn't quite make the same time commitment. Mike sent an email to the Revolver alumni listserv. One of the members that received that email was Martin Cochran. And Martin went to his wife and said, look, we need to get our story straight because I know Mike's going to come talk to me about it. We need to be on the same page. And, you know, they talked it over and he was interested and his wife thought they could make it work. Martin said he thought he understood what the workload was going to be. In retrospect, he didn't. It was much more work than he anticipated. But one interesting dynamic in this game, Ian, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Martin Cochran is not an experienced coach. An assistant coach at Stanford for part of a season, but other than that, mainly a player. Contrast that with Mike DeNardis and David Allison, who have buckets of experience, albeit not winning at the club level, but winning at the college level, having success, I think, by any standard. They still got Mike Payne on the staff. He's still a similar voice, but there's different styles at the top of the vocal pyramid. So how do you shake down the coaching pair that we've got in front of us this afternoon?
Well, let's go back to the comment about Cochran's experience. I think that's definitely worth bringing up. Have to remember that he was a main coaching leader and lead voice in Revolver's run to a World Ultimate Club Championship earlier in July. So he does have high-pressure championship experience under his belt. That being said, you know, similar to playing, I'm sure flexing that coaching muscle and making those in-game adjustments are all about gathering reps.
Goodness gracious, a drop from Stubbs on the goal line, and then Hastings quickly picked up to Mullen. And it appears Stubbs is calling a foul.
No, I think he's calling a travel because J.D. Hastings picked the disc up 5 yards inside the end zone and threw it. He needed to walk it back out to the goal line.
It's a good call by George. So, Ring needs at least one more toss. Freestadter back to Hastings.
Good job by the Revolver defense, pushing back.
And getting a turn, looking for LaViolette. Hastings forced it, and Revolver gets it back.
And you can see the deliberate zone look here from Ring after that turnover. Clogging those lanes, daring these throwers to go over the top and cut through the wind. And that's exactly what Ashlyn Joy does on that hammer to Simon Higgins.
DeNardis and Allison, specifically DeNardis on defense. Allison kind of anchors the O-line coaching. They've got a number of different defensive sets to try to flummox a great offense like Revolver. And the important personnel in those sets, Josh Mullen, the veteran, guy you said is the best captain you ever played for. Josh Hartzog, who's become a really stifling mark. And DeNardis talks a lot about Tim McAllister's value as kind of a short, deep, middle in the zone. Then you got Misha Freistadter, the 6'7" behemoth deep.
And look at how seamless that transition is once they get to midfield.
Deep shot, testing Freistadter, going for Higgins. He's got it. It's really hard for Revolver to score right now. Ring's making it difficult.
And I think the Ring coaching staff, they're certainly going to be upset with this turnover. A golden opportunity starting with the disc on the goal line, could have gone up 4 goals, a 6-2 margin. At the same time, if you're a coach, you want to have a positive message to take away from the point and bring back to your team. And look at how difficult it was for Revolver to score that point. This is not the beautiful isolation, athletes out in space offense. They had a turnover on their own goal line. They had to really flex their mental muscle and work slowly and deliberately all the way up the field. And I think that's part of DeNardis and Allison's game plan. Hey, Revolver offense, prove that you can do that 15 times before we can.
Revolver has so few losses in big games that you can name them quickly on your the 2012 loss in the finals to Double Wide, 2014 quarters to GOAT, the 2016 game they were playing without Ashlyn Joy against Ironside, could have gone either way. Here's the thing, Revolver, yeah, they won a world championship this year. During the club season, they didn't win the big games. Now, they didn't really seem to care too much about losing a sub-0 at the U.S. Open. The pro flight game in New York, well, it was in Pony's backyard. Maybe there's some excuses built in there. Revolver came into this tournament as the #1 seed and the favorite, but they weren't as invincible as perhaps they've looked in years past. And I think that's what we're seeing through these first 8 points.
I'd agree with that. I'd also think back to other seasons where they didn't necessarily capture championships in all of their regular season tournaments. But they do look more beatable than years past as we see a turnover from the Ring offense.
It was Julian Childs Walker who intercepted the pass.
And now the Ring veteran who moved to the Bay Area, Christian Johnson, calls timeout with a chance to break and get this within 1. God, and that turnover looks so eerily similar. Evan, you and I were fortunate enough to be calling the Ring Colony quarterfinal at the World Ultimate Club Championships. Late in the game, late in the second half, right before we got to double game point, Jonathan Nethercutt just tried to throw a little step-out swing to Matt Guccio-Hannes. and it looked like an easy 5-yard pass, and it was released just lightly enough to get caught in the wind. And what do we see there? Just a lazy step out from Williams, not enough snap, trying to hit Guccio-Hannes 5 yards away, and it's proving to be a somewhat crucial turnover. We'll see if Revolver can actually punch this in.
It's the first turnover for the Ring O-line, first break chance for Revolver's D. You mentioned Christian Johnson with his North Carolina roots, playing at UNC for Mike DeNardis. Another guy on Revolver's D-line, Mark Lynn, played for Ring of Fire, the Maryland College Park product. A couple years ago, Mark Lynn was cut from Ring. I think it was last year, as a matter of fact. And now he's on Revolver trying to knock Ring out. You also have the dynamic with Goose Helton, who was trying out for Revolver last year. And well, he was in the process of relocating to the West Coast. He was technically cut, but he made it clear that he wouldn't be able to be at a lot of practices, so they went with a younger guy, and that's always a tough decision for a club team. Do you take an established star? Do you take a young guy with potential to build up? A lot of great players want to be on Revolver, and it's an exclusive list. It's interesting to think about how this would be a different matchup if Helton was playing on the other side. You can say the same thing for Lynn. Little push pass. Did he hang on to it? I don't think so. Greg Cohen lost possession at the goal line. So Ring with another chance on O. Trying to stay calm. Williams in the middle of the field, marked by Byron Liu. Right back to Jack. Now picked up by John Stubbs. Fun matchup. John Stubbs and Jack Williams, two of the most epic individual performances in the college semifinals that the sport has ever seen in recent years. Stubbs for Harvard, Williams for UNC Wilmington. Another pretty good college player, champion Matt Guccio-Hannes swings it to Williams, over to another college champion, Dylan Lanier. Get the idea of why this Ring team is pretty talented and able to challenge Revolver, because they keep adding all these college national champions. And Jack Williams has his third goal of the first half. Raleigh holds after Revolver could not convert on the goal line.
Goodness, Greg Cohen had that in his hands. It might have been a little higher than he was expecting, but he really worked to toe the line. And I think that focus on towing the line prevented him from actually maintaining possession, and just patient offense from Ring after the turnover. A couple of moments where Revolver defenders were switching and the thrower was completely unmarked, and then just taking advantage of those small handler leave spaces in the red zone.
Jack Williams, a leading scorer for Ring of Fire throughout the tournament. His third goal in this first half, as Raleigh has doubled up Revolver through the opening 9 points. It is a great privilege to welcome in a couple of the sport's founding fathers into the booth, Joel Silver and Johnny Hines. Welcome, Joel, Johnny.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to be here.
The 50th anniversary of the sport. Joel, let me start with you. A question that I've heard you answer before, but a lot of folks who are watching probably haven't. You are credited with creating Ultimate 50 years ago. How did it happen?
Well, me and Johnny, a bunch of our friends, and we were juniors in high school in Maplewood, New Jersey, and we I heard about a game that I played in Massachusetts. Oh, wait a second.
There's Joel Schlockett leaping in the end zone on the huck from Davis as Revolver scores at 6-4. Go right ahead.
And I brought that game back to my high school, and it was kind of a joke for us. We weren't that serious about it, but who knew that I'd be sitting here and watching these two great teams playing and seeing all these spectators here. It's a really incredible feeling.
What do you think when you see all of these athletes and intense strategic battles going on? And I know you never imagined it, but what do you think now that you see it?
I think it's amazing. We thought we were pretty good, at least some of us, but this is a different world, and it's a real privilege to have founded the thing, co-founded the thing that became this.
Johnny, I know you were pretty important in helping to codify the first sets of rules. What was that process like?
Well, Buzzy and Joel put together the basic rules, which were the guts of it. And of the three of us, I was the one who was relatively athletic. Relatively. I played junior varsity baseball. And so I had a good idea of the rules of, basketball, hockey, football. And so I could visualize how we could perfect what they had put down on paper so that it was a playable sport. For example, not 20 guys on a team or girls or both, but 7.
Sure.
And things like that, a bunch of things. You may have seen a copy of the rules with my markings on them.
Of course. In the Ultimate History books that Joe Seidler has put together that will be on sale at ultimatehistory.com. There's tons of great stories and anecdotes, and you got a ring player shaken up on the field. Joel, at what point did you realize that this was big? Maybe just in recent years.
Well, I mean, there's a story I like to tell that when I first started playing this game, there was a young fella named David Lewant who was with us, and I said to him, David, watch. One day they'll be playing this game all over the world. He said, yeah, sure, Joel. Yeah.
Were you serious?
I don't know if I really believed that. I wanted to believe it, but standing out here now and seeing this, it kind of all came true.
Joel Silver and Johnny Hines joining me up here in the booth. Revolver and Ring in this first men's semifinal of our quadruple header of ESPN coverage. ESPN didn't exist in 1968.
No, it didn't, but just hearing you say that is pretty exciting. ESPN coverage.
Here's a deep shot going up, looking for Jack Williams. Nick Stewart tried to sandwich him, and between Stewart and Rasmussen, Revolver comes up with the block. Johnny, how have you seen the sport evolve from 1968 to 1985 to 2000 to 2018?
I think probably my story and Joel's story are pretty similar. We're the oddballs. I mean, in this whole weekend gathering celebration, almost everyone has been involved. People not quite as old as we are, but almost, ranging from whatever, 42 to 60-something, have stayed involved. They're playing, they're organizing, they're doing all kinds of things. And probably the two of us are the only ones who do nothing with the sport. But I mean, I get some cameo kind of flashes. For example, in Russia, I was asked to throw out the first frisbee, first pull at a tournament, and I'm going to meet some of the people who play there now. And another one is that the son of one of my law partners, who's from Kazakhstan, of all places, has just started a boarding school at Michigan. And they were choosing a fall sport, and he chose ultimate frisbee. And I said, hey, and so we connected on that. So I get, and I told a story this morning, the other thing, when I was back at Charlottesville, Virginia for my 40th law school reunion a couple of months ago, I was watching a group of kids play when I was wandering the grounds, and it was wonderful. It was a mixed group, guys and girls. They were wonderful. I stood there watching them, kind of transfixed, and they said, hey, old guy, you want to play? And I said, I said, no, I don't feel so well. And I stood there, kept watching them, and they wondered, why I was watching them. And I said, I co-invented this sport. And one of the guys looked at me and said, yeah, and I'm Thomas Edison. So but I'm glad to get re-engaged in it now.
What has it been like this weekend? I mean, to be around the Hall of Fame inductions last night and the welcome reception on Thursday night, I was just looking to rub shoulders and meet some of the names that I've heard about, the Tom Kennedys and Stork Roddicks and Steve Mooney's. And what's it been like for you seeing some of the pioneers of the sport from 50 years ago this weekend?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of these guys for that many years, for like 50 years. But look, it's just an enthralling experience to see this happen and watch these kids play. And these are real athletes. These kids, I mean, they're fantastic. And just seeing these guys shoot that frisbee down the field is incredible.
Do you think that 1968 or 1969 Maplewood High School team could score a point against either of these teams?
Maybe at halftime in the locker room.
Deep shot goes up. It's deflected. There was contact. Was there a call? No call. Revolver will take over. Spirit of the game is something that everyone around the sport holds dear to heart. In the first rules, you wrote about how if there are referees around, there can be referees, and the referee's call is final. As the deep shot goes up, looking for Kearns, and it's deflected by Nethercutt and caught anyway. The frisbee still does weird tricks 50 years later.
Ooh, nice.
And Revolver has tied it up at 6-all here in the first half. How did you guys value spirit of the game 50 years ago? And how have you seen that evolve? And what do you think its purpose is in our sport now?
Well, we were talking about it this morning. I think the spirit of the game came from the confluence of two factors. One was we didn't have a choice because there were no refs. We were the guys and the gals down in the parking lot. And the other, I think, is just self-selection. What type of person started playing the game? I mean, these were not brute ruffian types. These were more enlightened types, for the most part. And that's just the way it started, and it just kept on like that. It wasn't a mantra at first. It just was that. It became a mantra.
I mean, it started out of necessity. We didn't have any refs. We had no choice but to, but we gave it a fancy name, Spirit of the Game, which we were very proud of that name. But now to see how it's kind of become a part of this culture is just fantastic.
Have you thought about what would have happened if you had never stepped up in that student council meeting and said, I move that we have an ultimate frisbee team?
Look, I mean, it was a joke. I mean, I didn't think it would. I mean, I said I moved that we have a committee to investigate bringing frisbee into the curriculum. It was a joke. And then before we knew it, we had a committee and we ended up with a sport and a game. And here we are 50 years later watching this incredible semifinal match.
It is truly remarkable, and it's been a privilege to both play and broadcast over the past decade. And to see a spectacle like this that has been brewing here in San Diego with the 50th anniversary and so many of the great faces of the past. We got a parade of teams later today that I imagine you guys will be involved in, perhaps as the flag bearers or grand marshals to lead, players from some of the greatest teams that aren't around anymore, the Glassboro teams, the Rutgers teams. I mean, the pioneers that started, and the Johnny Appleseeds, as Johnny, you've described it in the past, folks who went from New Jersey to different colleges around the Northeast and then the West. What do you remember about as the sport gradually expanded from one school to another and kind of that domino effect that took place?
Well, again, I think neither Joel nor I had a big role in that. I had some. I brought it to Princeton.
Sure.
Actually, Buzzy, I think, planted the first seeds of it, but he tragically died in a car accident in the spring of his freshman year. And so I carried it on, and we had the first game against Rutgers and the second game against Rutgers. And then, frankly, I didn't do that much more. I just watched and listened about what our class of 72 colleagues were doing at other colleges, and they're the ones that really carried it forward. They carried the flag really well.
Here's Jonathan Nethercutt, one of the greatest throwers in the game, one of the greatest athletes. Goose Helton tumbles just shy of the end zone, was his first point of contact. And Ring snaps the 3-0 run from Revolver to take a 7-6 lead. When you see throws and plays like this, are you astounded? Are you like, oh, of course, this is what people do now? What goes through your mind?
I mean, there's real talented guys here. It's real athletes. These are real guys who are, look, most of us were, didn't have this kind of skill, this ability. I mean, look at these guys. They're the real deal. It's fantastic. Fantastic.
What was the Joel Silver scouting report as a player?
I could throw okay. I guess about it. But, I was never a great runner.
But he was a good thrower. He really was a good thrower.
I imagine you could still throw it decently well down the field.
A little. I mean, my son Max and I play sometimes. I always can hit him. But it's not like these guys. These guys are fantastic.
Well, Joel Silver and Johnny Hines, it's been a privilege to meet with you, and we certainly thank you for what you did 50 years ago, and we look forward to the next milestone as the sport continues to grow. Thanks so much for being here, and keep up the good work.
Thanks for having us.
Joel Silver and Johnny Hines, two of the founding fathers of Ultimate. 50 years ago in New Jersey, Columbia High School, a member of Philadelphia Amp, Luke Ryan, was a soccer player at Columbia High School. Knew a bunch of guys on the Frisbee team. Didn't start playing until he was a junior at St. Joe's. We'll see Luke and Amp in the mixed final tomorrow against Seattle Mixtape. Meanwhile, Ian Toner will jump back in as this thing has gotten very interesting. Ring led 6-3. Revolver pounced on a couple ring mistakes. Back-to-back breaks tied it at 6. And here we are, Revolver trying to even the score at 7. As Ashlyn Joy and Grant Lindsley, two world-class players who have both won world championships in their time in the sport. Ian, how have you seen these last few points unfold? How has Revolver turned the tide?
Well, it looks like they're mixing things up defensively. I've seen a couple different looks with a force middle. I've seen them changing some of their matchups, and they're still not afraid of the ring deep shot. They're still comfortable having defenders stand a few yards underneath, trusting that their one-on-one matchups will make up ground and make plays like Nick Stewart did on Misha Freestyle.
As I think about some of the things that Joel Silver said and how, it started as a joke, and here we are, two teams that could not be more serious, and they're having fun, but there are, great passion on the line, and you think about, Kenny Dobbins quotes from the 80s. This is life right here.
This isn't a game.
Yeah, this
it's your life.
This is your life. And you chuckle about it, but the sport really captures so many things: emotions, passions, energies. Ashlyn Joy, his father Steve, was an Ultimate player. And a good one on the West Coast. Little elevator pass, and Schlockett keeps it in bounds near the line.
Let's see, did he survive ground contact without any bobble? Because we know that's a hot corner from our earlier game. Lindsley with a little high release elevator backhand. Gets left and right toe down. Disc stays in Schlockett's right hand the entire time.
No doubt. Bold decision from Grant Lindsley.
Yeah, and bold decision to throw that there, and the fact that he decided to throw a high release backhand and not something that might be a little more precise, like a scuba or stepping out and throwing the around flick into that space. I think he was probably just really relying on the element of surprise with that release point. And it looks like he is going to be one of a few others who are going to stay out there and pull double duty to try and get San Francisco to take this break. heading into halftime.
This is time to cross over some of your top guys. Antoine Davis, Nick Stewart, John Stubbs, Grant Lindsley, Cassidy Rasmussen, George Stubbs, and Eli Friedman on the line for Revolver. More normal looking O-line for Ring, Nethercutt, Gusho-Hannes, Williams, Fisher, Helton, Laviolette, and Lanier. Ring in the semis at Nationals for the 5th time in the last 7 years. Trying to get to the first finals this decade. Revolver so experienced in this spot. In their 9th semi in the last 10 years. Semis every year since '09 except for the 2014 season when they were shocked in the quarters by Derek Alexander and Mark Lloyd and that Toronto GOAT team.
Hey, you remember who won the title in the men's division that year?
I don't.
Oh, okay, that's too bad.
Kurt did. It was 2014. I don't know what team he played for.
That's right.
Meanwhile, we go to half. Gusho-Hannes has the goal, and Raleigh up 8-7 on serve. In a half that included a bunch of breaks, a bunch of runs, and we're basically dead even.
Yeah, I can't help but think back to that turnover that J.D. Hastings had in the goal line. That potentially, if Ring could have converted that break, would have given that squad a 4-goal lead, a 6-2 advantage. But because Revolver was able to hold there, they were able to find some momentum and confidence, eventually go on a 3-goal run to get things all tied up at 6, and the teams traded the rest of the way into halftime.
Your reward for catching the goal to take it to half is that. Congratulations, Matt Gusho-Hannes. You look fantastic. Halloween preparations underway at Nationals. We're at the half, 8-7 Ring.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice? Between beauty and brutality, style and steel. Between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in. What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate. It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops. Like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
From Shame, Nate Roth and Danielle Love. From Slow White, Rachel Westgate and...
It's halftime of the Revolver Ring men's semifinal here at USA Ultimate Nationals Championship. I'm joined by Revolver head coach Martin Cochran. Martin, it's so rare that Revolver sees this kind of adversity. What are you seeing from the Ring defense that's making things move slowly for Revolver's offense?
They're doing a lot of things right now. They're putting great pressure when they're coming man. on our handlers and covering the first throw off the pole. They're also throwing some junky sets that are really making us think about everything. We haven't been doing a good job taking advantage of it over the top, so it's been a lot of pressure from them in the first half. Credit to them.
This is a big moment for you. This is your first year as head coach of Revolver. What adjustments are you going to make now that you have a moment to regroup with your team during this halftime to take it away in the second half?
A lot of it's, I think we kind of made those adjustments mid-half. We came out a little sluggish, and honestly, like from how we were playing on the field, it looked like we just didn't want to win the game. And so I just told everyone that, and I think we kind of like snapped out of it. So a lot of it's the same. I think we need to embrace the adversity. Sometimes, as obvious as it is, I think we like look for the easy game, and this is a hard game, and we need to recognize that and rise to that challenge.
All right, well, thanks for your time and best of luck in the second half.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with Mike Donardis from Ring in a few moments. Stick with us.
Picture perfect Saturday afternoon on the West Coast here in San Diego with the Raleigh Ring of Fire team in front of San Francisco Revolver 8-7. We are on serve. Revolver will receive to start the second half. But first, let's talk about the first half a little bit more. David Allison on his way to chat with Megan Tormey. It began with Joel Silver, founder of Ultimate. 1968 Maplewood High School launching the opening pull. Little off kilter. I think he was too close to the end zone. Then the game started, Ian, and Ring, well, they were on fire at the start of this one.
That's right. Their offense had no fear shooting deep. And then Ring capitalized very early on some uncharacteristic Revolver turnovers. Not afraid to stretch the field and not afraid to work it up with their break chances. Here's a look at one of their first breaks. Joey Cretella shooting deep to Noah Saul, and a more difficult Revolver hold ensued with Stubbs skying a small pile there. Dylan Lanier shooting deep to Goose Helton, the commuter player living in San Diego this season while he played for Ring of Fire. Another break here as Ring jumped out to its early lead, but again, with Revolver up 5-2.
Ring up 5-2.
With Ring up 5-2, they were in the red zone with the disc on the doorstep of another break to go up 6-2, but J.D. Hastings' pass fell to the turf, and from there on out, Revolver was able to find some new life, spark some energy as we get a look at another Ring hold that took place later in the half, but a 3-0 run, including some patient, long, multiple throw holds, getting things back on serve heading into the half.
I think what stands out, Ring is certainly making things more difficult to Revolver than they're used to. But the question is, can they stop entirely? Because you can make life tough, and Revolver can be still championship worthy, as we saw at the end of that half when they went on a 3-0 run to transform the deficit into a tie game back on serve. Schlockett evened us at 7s, and then Jack Williams, who's been the focal point for Ring, picks up another assist in the final sequence of the half. I think both teams are great when they stay calm. Will they stay calm in the second half? We'll find out. Let's go down to the field. Megan Tormey is with Ring coach David Allison.
Thanks so much, Evan. David, how good does your team have to feel to be playing wiffle ball during the halftime?
Well, we've always been trying to focus on keeping it relaxed and staying in the moment, and using things like wiffle ball give us a good way to sort of not think about the consequences of anything that's happening and just trying to stay on every single point all the time.
This is the third semifinals in a row that you've faced off against Revolver. What feels different about today?
I think that experience. You know, we've played them a couple of times in these big moments, and I think we know what it's going to take to beat them. And knowing that, I think now it's just about executing.
You and Donardis are known for playing your cards close to your chest. I know you won't tell me what they are, but do you have any tricks lined up for the second half?
I think you'll see some of the same, and I think you'll see some different.
Okay, what are the different things?
I think that you can let Evan tell you when he sees it on the field.
Well, it was worth a shot. Thanks so much for your time. Go be with your team, and good luck in the second half. Evan, back to you.
Megan, thanks so much. Yeah, I'll let everybody know when I notice it. David's going to text me from the sideline. At least I hope. He said he was going to text. We'll see. 8-7, second half is next. Second half moments away. Quick look at the scoring summary. Williams and Lanier involved in a bunch of goals for Ring. Schlock had a couple scores as usual for Revolver. Antoine Davis with a pair of assists. He also had a big early D that allowed Revolver to get a hold on their first offensive point. We're on serve. Revolver's about to receive. Is Revolver still a favorite, Ian, in your mind in this game?
Absolutely. I think they've got the years of championship experience. They've kind of sustained those body blows of the early Ring break run, and they've punched back with a 3-0 run of their own to get things back on serve. I'm not going to be betting against the defending national champions with so much of that roster intact when they haven't lost a semifinal game this decade.
That's a great point. It was interesting to hear Martin Cochran basically say, we looked like we didn't want to win. They're going for their 6th national title since 2010. They won a world championship in Ohio this past summer. Sanchez fires. Davis turns on the Jets, and did he hang on? Observer rules it down. Incomplete. You saw a little bobble on the landing. We get the benefit of a second look.
And Sanchez releases that disc so far back. Oh, goodness, that's hard to tell at full speed. On that angle, it does look like on impact, the disc just shifts direction, indicating a bobble, but still not clear enough on the second replay.
Well, Revolver's going to get the disc back. Saul's swing looking for Richardson sailed over and out of bounds. Joy marked by McAllister. Here's Stubbs to Friedman. Big gainer, George Stubbs, red zone. Looking for Davis with the hammer. Richardson sniffed it out.
And those are exactly the kind of plays that Richardson is out there on the field to make. He's more of a defensive specialist, coming in there and making a play on a hanging hammer. I don't know that the stall count was so high that Stubbs absolutely had to release that. It probably looked really great and enticing at the moment of release. And Stubbs was being marked by Justin Allen, but it looked like Allen came up lame with something like a hamstring cramp. It looks like that's where he's gesturing, but Jonathan Nethergut is going to come in, and he'll be on the field to help marshal this Ring D-line offense. 70 yards for a break opportunity.
First point of the second half. Richardson throws it high, and Sanchez secures the block.
And that's 2 turnovers this point for the Ring D-line offense. Not sure how many more times Revolver's going to give them the disc or they're going to earn the disc back.
Ian, what do you think Pony is thinking watching this game unfold?
I think more often, I'd say they're really trying to recover from that incredibly chippy, physical, contested, intense semifinal. I don't know that they're seeing anything as a true decisive advantage. If anything, they're seeing another data point that suggests that that junky, zony, clammy offense, that junky, zony, clammy defense can slow down the Revolver offense. Richardson trying to find Cisco underneath, and that front edge of the disc just catching the wind a little too much.
And Stubbs beats Nethercutt to the front corner of the end zone.
Matsuka so close to getting a block on Joy there, but you could tell he held up before pulling the trigger.
George Stubbs, 29 years old, will be 30 in January. Born in the Boston area, grew up in Atlanta, played at Paideia, on the 2011 Callahan at Harvard, part of the USA World Games team in both 2013 and 2017. And then, George did something that not a lot of elite players do. He just took a year off completely from Ultimate. He and his then girlfriend, now wife, Emma, hiked the Pacific Coast Trail, moved out to the Bay Area. Remember, it was the 2015 National Championship game where Revolver won again, and Mike Payne said, yeah, we got another trick up our sleeve, and on the air, he announced, yeah, we got George Stubbs joining us next year, as if the rich needed to get richer. And then they had George Stubbs, and the year later they had Grant Lindsley and Nick Stewart, and then I think they took George's younger brother just on name alone, and he's proved to be a pretty nice asset. 3 blocks in the finals of the World Championship game in Ohio this year against Sydney's Colony.
He was drawing the Jack Williams matchup earlier this game. We've seen Revolver defenders rotating. This point, it's Cassidy Rasmussen.
Oh, he could mac that to the end zone if he wants. That's Mark Lynn, who was cut by Ring. Moved out to the Bay Area, made Revolver. Over the top, Kearns, and Dolman can't make the grab.
And to be fair, that is a really difficult catch. That's coming in at a high speed, at a weird angle. It's not something that you're naturally running onto. It's kind of blading away from you. Dolman did get a full hand on it, but really tough to grab. Kearns now 1 for 2 on hammers in the red zone.
And to think, that's Lucas Dolman's first touch in a game this tournament. It's his first game played, just traveled down this morning. A catch that certainly I'm sure he feels he should have made, albeit, as you said, a very difficult grab.
Yeah. The pick was the pick. I didn't call it. Oh, okay.
Before I knew that Lucas was going to be here today, I was asking Martin Cochran about him. And there's Wesley and Julian, born early morning October 1st. Kelly and Lucas, proud new parents. And I've been there, Lucas. Get ready for some long nights ahead. But it is an incredibly overwhelming, amazing experience at the same time.
Who do you think Bennett wants to win this game?
Well, Bennett lives in North Carolina.
It's kind of where I was going.
I think Bennett, she's rooting for a close game.
Okay.
She's probably sleeping right now, hopefully. Ring on offense. Lanier. Difficult throw. Finds Goose Johannes. To Nethercutt. Helton, oh, he turfed it. The veteran who's made that throw successfully thousands of times with an error in a key moment, 8-all in the semis.
Just before that, was about to talk about the great break that Jonathan Nethercutt had to open up the other side of the field, breaking the mark and getting the disc all the way over to the other sideline with Dylan Lanier. But an unfortunate mistake from Helton as Rasmussen shoots deep.
Dahlman wide open, an easy catch this time. His first goal as a dad. Revolver takes its first lead in the semifinals.
And Laviolette was open. I'm not sure if Helton maybe felt rushed because he knew the mark was closing in. But a little more mystifying is just the lack of defensive pressure and just how open Dahlman was at the back of the end zone. I mean, this one's a no-brainer for Rasmussen.
Revolver's third break of the game. This one gives them the lead at 9-8. Martin Cochran was telling me Lucas Dahlman is the Swiss Army knife for Revolver. He's never seen a player quite like him. Combination of speed and skill and energy and passion. Dahlman was a Revolver rookie on the 2013 team that won nationals. That was the first year club nationals were held in Frisco, Texas. We were in Frisco for 3 years, then in Rockford, Illinois, about an hour outside Chicago 2 years ago. Went back to Florida last year. And here we are in San Diego, where we're partying like it's 1999. That's the last time club nationals were here in San Diego. Not the best pull Revolver's ever launched. Ring begins across midfield, and a low throw ruled up, and a travel call.
A lot of physicality there between Cohen and Freystadter.
Yeah. You were well out of bounds.
I didn't see it.
No worries. What's our stall going to be? Stalling 3. Everybody, looks like everybody's. Yeah, we're waiting for it.
Do we have a step, Noah?
Ready when you are.
It's a fun matchup, Freystadter and Cohen. So's Nathan White, Nethercutt. Childs Walker on Goose Johannes. Downfield, Williams, chased by Stubbs. Does it feel to you, Ian, like Jonathan Nethercutt is trying to not do everything himself?
It feels like he's trying to be just, another cog in the machine.
There's a good throw and an assist for Nethercutt. Freystadter is wide open for the score. And Mitch Dengler looks like he's going to have a chat with Freystadter and Cohen about the physicality.
So if he's pushing you off and because you're leaning on him, it means he doesn't want you to do that. And that's illegal. I didn't call it. No. Okay. I wanted to be proactive there.
I like that officiating by Mitch Dengler. The point I was getting to is how Nethercutt has evolved and what his role has been in the past, and how perhaps Ring is playing more of a team game today.
Yeah, I think he's just getting to his spots and trusting that if he goes and fills and clears and goes where he needs to go, everything's going to work out. I've still seen him uncork some deep shots that only he can hit. I think the jury's still out. I want to see how things play out down the stretch and as this offense continues to come under pressure late in the second half.
Freistatter staying on the field for D. Nethercutt always among his team and the tournament's leaders in the assist department. Conversing with Jack Williams on the sideline as Ring pulls in a 9-9 game.
And another look at this Ring zone that really slowed down the Revolver offense in the first half and made them work for their holds. You've got 3 defenders up front. They're not always playing in a true cup role. And you've got that next level wall of 3 more defenders. And then Misha Freistatter occupying the deep, deep space, maybe just out of your frame on the right side. Just hanging out deep, not letting Antoine Davis get alone too far.
Megan, how does the wind feel down on the field right now?
Well, at present, it's very still, but as I mentioned earlier, it is not a consistent wind. We have some steady ebbs and flows. Right now, things are still, but at any point in time, there might come a surge.
We've seen it impact the disc a couple times. That's a bold shot, and it is going to work. Lindsley connects with Doy, and then Schlockett leaps and lands in the end zone. And Revolver's back in front 10-9.
Well, a well-executed shot. That outside-in backhand to the opposite side of the field. You could tell Freistatter was truly stretched between 2 deep defenders on either sideline. And he didn't even bother giving chase once that throw went up to Doy, because the Cutters had done such a good job spacing him and making him choose. And we've seen throwers miss throws going in this slightly downwind, slightly crosswind direction, but you can tell that Lindsley calibrated that one perfectly. Just the right amount of blade and the right amount of force to get it there right in Doy's breadbasket.
Another score for Schlockett, who's currently the longest tenured member of Revolver in his 11th season. One name we haven't mentioned yet during this broadcast, but this is the first year in a very long time that Revolver has not featured Bo Kittredge on the roster. And remember last year in the finals, Bo played, 1 or 2 points against Double Wide, and Revolver's easy win to pick up their 5th title. It's funny how if Revolver wins today, who will be waiting for them tomorrow? Among others, Bo Kittredge, now a member of Pride of New York. It's a decent narrative. Helton. Thought about the deep shot, takes the reset, and Gusho Hannes takes the swing. Liam Searles Bowes. He'll be a sophomore at the University of North Carolina in the spring.
And you look at how much space these Ring downfield Cutters are making for each other, and I think Liam Searles-Bowes had separation there, but you talk about Evan, you're wondering if Nethercutt was trying to just let the rest of the team do all of the heavy lifting. I've seen him connect on that shot so many times before. I don't think that's a selfish decision. I think it's just missed execution.
Sawyer Thompson to the end zone. Russell Wynn runs it down. That's a crucial break for Revolver.
Well, that's got to feel great for Russell Wynn. He's been sidelined for a big portion of this season with a shoulder injury. Wasn't able to be on the field for Revolver's World Ultimate Club Championships victory. And now the longtime frustrating defender catching a crucial break here in the national semifinal.
Win the score, Thompson the assist, and Megan Tormey on the sidelines.
Just before that Revolver score, when Ring threw the disc away, Mike Payne shouted to his team, "They're tired, run them." I think Revolver is recognizing that they have the opportunity to take this game away right now, and we're seeing the energetic momentum shift.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Sawyer Thompson now in his second year on the team, 24 years old. You know, a couple of years ago, at regionals, he got a D on Bo Kittredge on an undercut, and the Revolver invited him to tryouts next year. And he made the team. Marty Cochran played with Bo at the University of Colorado, 04 to 08. A couple years with Johnny Bravo. Nathan White on the pull. Feels like a must score here for Ring. We've seen them have some crazy comebacks. We've seen Jack Williams with some crazy comebacks. Nethercutt shot to Freystadter is going to work. Two spectacular individual talents, Nethercutt and Freystadter, collaborating on the score to get within one.
That's what you want to see. That builds confidence in the rest of your team. Hey, we're really feeling the pressure. We got to hold. I'm going to cash that in for you in 2 throws with our best thrower and our biggest receiver. Everyone on the field's got to know that's coming. And now it's time for the Ring defense to step up and start to make up some of the ground that the O-line has given here in this second half. I think we're going to see more variants of the zone looks that clog those throwing lanes and force Revolver to swing the disc repeatedly, force them to at least consider over-the-top looks. Time is ticking down for them. We're about 6 minutes away from the soft cap. But that defensive look has been the one that's proven the most frustrating for the Revolver offense.
We've seen Ring break Revolver today. They're going to need to do it a couple times to win this game. Down the stretch. Marcy centers to Joy. Downfield, Higgins, Davis, Lindsley, and Sanchez. Eli Friedman, the weak side handler, and there's a drop. Throw a little bit behind Simon Higgins. And the door is ajar for Ring.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was really expecting Davis to break the mark to him that late in the count, because he attacked it with a weird claw grab with his fingers on top rather than opening up his fingers underneath.
Jack Williams trying to beat Antoine Davis on a cut. That's not easy to do. Williams throws a little shoulder. Davis gives one back. Now Williams. And, well, the observers were waving their arms when that disc was in the air. And a yellow card goes to Davis.
No. It wasn't in. You weren't in.
You know what? I don't have in.
It's how it works. It's how it works.
I don't have in the end zone.
Because the PMF stops play.
Do you have it in the end zone?
We're keeping people from getting it.
You stopped playing.
I know. Well, I know. I stopped him because I saw it over here.
Yeah.
I was going
The
back.
PMF. The observer can stop play for PMF because it's a safety issue.
No,
We're trying to keep people from getting hurt.
No one's called anything.
I understand. I understand. Hey, no.
Observers can stop the issue of PMF, and that was a PMF.
That is.
We're trying to keep people safe. Yep.
Mitch!
What do you think, Ian?
Well, the question here is not whether or not Jack was in. The question is, does the PMF that stops play get overruled? Because the PMF occurred when they were shoving with their forearms back and forth at the front of the stack.
It's a ring break to tie the game at 11. And there's a lot that you could dissect and evaluate from that sequence.
That's what we're trying to stop right away. That's the idea behind it. And I think you guys are great for counting that goal. Okay?
It was to the
Yeah,
point where
I saw it,
fight.
and I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
I have no problem with what the observer did either.
Yeah, I think that was bordering on overly aggressive. It wasn't just jostling at the front of the stack. It was throwing your torso and aggressively using your arm to stop the body position. You know, Williams didn't call it because he's born and bred in that North Carolina, Wilmington branded style of Ultimate. He's played through more physicality than that in the past. So take a look at the right side of your screen. That's Davis just putting his shoulder and his forearms into Williams as he tries to get open at the front of the stack. And in that moment, the observers called the PMF, which technically stops play. But Davis and Williams agreed, hey, we'll issue the PMF, but we'll also still let that goal stand because Williams beat Davis to the spot.
And now downfield, you got Williams on defense playing George Stubbs pretty physically. Stubbs gets open for the under. And here's Davis chased by Richardson. To Marcy. Joy marked by McAllister. Marcy, Higgins. In Schlockett territory, but he didn't have an angle. There's Joel. And there's Ashland.
A systematic hold there for the Revolver offense. Just using the width of the field, breaking the mark all the way down the field, resetting in the red zone when they need to, setting up those inside breaks. That was the backbreaker right there. Marcy's inside backhand to get the disc back to the middle of the field, gain yardage doing it, and that opens up the next inside shot, continuing on to Joy right on the goal line. And now Revolver has a 12-11 lead, and we're 30 seconds away from the soft cap.
So after this point ahead, it'll either be 12 all game to 14 or 13-11 game to 15, depending on whether Ring can hold or Revolver can break. Pride of New York awaits the winner. Pony's first trip to the finals. Of course, the history of New York Ultimate as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the sport is immense. Men of New York in the late 80s, early 90s, winning 6 titles.
And Revolver comes out in a junk defense, fronting all the cutters. You see Spear and Dahlman not even looking at the throwers, waiting for players to come into their area, and now they've transitioned into man-to-man defense.
A mistake gives Revolver a break chance. A San Francisco Revolver program that with a win this year would match Death or Glory and New York, New York with 6 national titles. Nick Stewart. Back to Dahlman. And he'll take a timeout. And it's just the Revolver way, Ian, you think about a guy like Nick Stewart, who's been the dominant guy on a lot of teams he's played for, Carlton, Sub-Zero, etc. And he's kind of been an afterthought in a game like this, but just such a weapon to have in a moment to try to put the game away.
Yeah, he's gotten one key block, and he's also been battling a hamstring injury all year. It limited his contributions at the World Ultimate Club Championships. He hasn't played every single game here at this National Championship Tournament weekend. I think back to all of the matchups that Jimmy Mickle has been dealt as we look ahead to potential matchups in the final. I think Trent Dillon has played the best dump defense on Mickle. Obviously, Jimmy was a little frustrated with the physicality in this morning's semifinal. But I think downfield, I think Nick Stewart provides the best matchup and frustrates him the most. And even when he has the disc, Stewart is such a big, lanky body that he could provide and establish such a difficult mark in comparison to a smaller Byron Liu or a smaller Trent Dillon.
Revolver and Ring each with 4 goal wins in the quarters. Revolver over Truck Stop from DC. Ring over Double Wide from Austin, Texas. Double Wide team that went all the way to the finals last year in Florida. Ring season has ended at the hands of Revolver in the semifinals each of the last 2 years. Dahlman's throw was too low. And Ring's O-line gets the disc back. Trying to tie us up at 12 all. Lanier. Oh, what a D! Alan Laviolette victimized by Sawyer Thompson. Rasmussen to the end zone with a perfect put to Kearns. And Revolver leads by 2.
I mean, Ring's got no one to blame but themselves for this deficit. You think about the costly turnovers that have been building up. The Hastings red zone missed break opportunity. The Nethercutt missed open huck. The Helt turfed throw to the end zone that would have been a sure goal. There are only so many times you can miss those opportunities against a team like Revolver. When Cassidy Rasmussen's going to be picking up the disc after the turnover, he's going to make you pay.
That makes it 13-11. We're playing to 15. Soft cap went on during that point. Talked about Rasmussen off the top. Guy out of UC Santa Cruz. World Ultimate Club champion for the 3rd time this past summer. Trying to win a national title for the 6th time with Revolver. Nethercutt as Gusho Hannes is the dump. Noah Saul crosses over to offense for this must-score point. Lanier to Williams. Fisher taking off deep. Freistadter coming under. He almost ended his cut too soon, colliding with Johnson as he makes the catch. Saul swings it. Williams. And Nethercutt, hassled by White. Got the flick around the straight up mark of the lanky White. Freestadter feeds it to Fisher. A lot of physicality downfield here, Ian, from both sides.
Two former U23 O-line teammates there. Johnson matching up against Freistadter.
It doesn't matter. It's still 6.
Stubbs and Freistadter collide.
Yeah. Yeah, but oh yeah, what's the count at? Yeah. No. All right, we're coming in 8. Coming in 7.
Resets the stall to Williams. Pretty good red zone defense from Revolver here, tightening the screws, but Ring patiently waits and converts. Nethercutt to Williams, 13-12, game to 15.
And you see Williams sitting down on the turf. He's one of those guys that they're going to need out there, making plays down the stretch if they're going to complete a comeback. He's been out there for so many consecutive points now, chalking up a lot of mileage in this game.
And watch this sequence here. Nathan White had him, he had him, he had him, and he lost him.
To Ring's credit, when they've been able to work the disc down to the red zone successfully, in the second half, they're 3 for 4 on red zone conversions, 8 for 9 in the entire game. So it looks like the key here is just having the patience and discipline and structure to get the disc down to the red zone. And that red zone offense has been a huge strength for them.
You see break chances, 5 breaks in the game for Revolver, only 3 for Ring. Raleigh needs 2 more breaks to win, and there's not a whole lot of time to work with. Revolver on offense with Schlockett, Davis, Friedman, Lindsley, Joy, Sanchez, and Marcy. Funny, every time Revolver takes the field, you're like, you're not going to play George Stubbs this point? You're not going to play Cassidy Rasmussen this point? I mean, you could do that every single point with a guy who you think is really good, who's not out there.
Marcy playing catch up that break side as Ring transitions out of their junk look into man-to-man assignments.
Here's Friedman with Matsuka marking. Lindsley chased by Fairfax. And now Sanchez, 8 yards from the goal line. Sacrifices yardage, the reset to Marcy. Gains it right back to Joy, 7 yards out. Almost a D. Williams was hunting. And the throw is too tall. Lindsley couldn't get it either. Intercepted by Fairfax. Freistadter takes a timeout. And Ring ain't done yet.
You know what Ring needs right now? There's the baseball version of the rally cap, but think back to the UNC Dark Side squad a couple years ago. They had, was it the Towel Squad, the Towel Gang? It was just this nonstop source of energy on the sidelines, inspired by college basketball teams whipping their own towels while they cheered on their teammates from the sidelines on the court. They just need someone to pump in that energy and confidence. Maybe this little jumping huddle at the timeout is their best attempt.
What's Ring looking to do here out of the timeout?
Hey, did you guys know about the injuries that walked off? Okay, you're the replacement.
10
okay,
seconds
they
out.
also have an injury.
Hurry up!
So you can replace him. Number 4 had blood.
There's a lot of discussion going on.
My time. We're taking care of the injuries. There were a total of 2 injuries taking subs. They've replaced their injuries. Yeah. All right. So you're in for 1 sub. Who's
okay,
your other? Are you taking another sub? You're good like this? Okay, we're good. You're the sub. And we're good on your subs?
Gooch Johannes replaces Cretella.
We're good? All right.
So Ring's got Matsuka Freystadter, Saul Fairfax, Nethercutt, Gooch Johannes, and McAllister. Revolver, counters, Rasmussen, Friedman, Joy, Sanchez, Lindsley, Davis, Marcy. 13-12. Trip to the finals on the line. Fantastic crowd on a gorgeous day. The 50th anniversary celebration of our sport in San Diego. And we're live on ESPN as Nethercutt finds Matsuka. Underneath, sliding grab made by McAllister. That just dipped at the last moment, but Matsuka, your former teammate, hung on.
You can see how much they're having to work for yardage.
Throwing into a triangle of defenders. And Nethercutt making a call. He thought he had the disc, and then he rescinds it. Friedman, Davis, and Joy. 3 vertices converging on that block. Stall count was rising there, but Matsuka's throw left something to be desired.
Yeah, not sure if he had a lot of other options.
Is this gonna work? Oh yeah, Sanchez slices through the breeze perfectly and finds Davis. This throw took a little moxie from Marcelo Sanchez.
Well, Ring had the stall count rising. Matsuka with the disc on his own goal line. Not sure if he looked for any reset options. And then Sanchez, gosh, as a marker, it's got to be so difficult to stop him. He's so large, he just gets out and releases the disc from so far back. His backhand release point is just so difficult to deny and take away. And Antoine Davis with that inside shot up the gut, unmatched into the end zone.
Davis, who a little over a year ago, some of his teammates were comparing to Bo. Said he was like Bo if Bo tried all the time. That's the type of potential that Marcelo had, that Antoine had, and Marcelo Sanchez, as unassuming a superstar as there is in the sport. So now it's must-score time. Ring needs a hold and then 2 breaks to keep their season alive. Here's Williams and Fisher. the depth, Ian, seems to have played a part in the second half. We've seen a lot of Williams, a lot of Freystadter, a lot of Nethercutt. Every point, a new fresh line for Revolver. The trust they have in their depth is unparalleled.
Yeah, they can just roll out world-class D-line after world-class D-line. You know, they would be universe lines on many other Nationals qualifying teams here in the men's division.
I understand, but just give me a word. Everyone else is wondering.
Eli Kearns marking Jonathan Nethercutt. Those two were born a week apart, March 4th and March 11th in 1992, respectively. And they meet at the goal line in the semifinals. And Nethercutt squeezes it through to Gus Johannes. Not adding a bunch of yards to his total on that completion, but it successfully converts the goal. And now, what will Ring try and do defensively here? Do they come out with their 7 best man defenders? Do they try to throw a junk with their season on the line? 14-13 in a game to 15.
You heard Nick Stewart getting upset. A lot of physicality there. It sounded like he and Gus Johannes were okay with it and working it out themselves. The observer was trying to get clarification, and then Gus Johannes just so shifty in those small spaces. Just a quick little shoulder dip, plant, go up the line.
On the field for Ring. You're not going to see Williams or Nethercutt. Denard is talking to his crew. That includes Justin Allen, Noah Saul, Misha Freystadter, Joey Cretella, Saul Yannick, Shane Cisco, and Tim McAllister. Meanwhile, for Revolver, the mainstays: Marcy, Davis, Lindsley, Joy, Sanchez, Higgins, and Stubbs, the elder Stubbs. Pony awaits the winner. That disc is going to fall to Ring. Freystadter. Noah Saul. A lot of traffic in that front corner of the end zone area, so they smartly reset. And a nice job by Ring to refresh the spacing downfield. And there was a foul.
Foul call.
Twan, what do you have? What? Not uncontested? He called foul? Okay. Okay. So what did you say before? You said 9, so you're coming in 9. Yeah. No, you're saying 9. You are saying 9. Coming in 9! Coming in 9!
Freystadter gets rid of it immediately to Noah Saul. And Saul Yannick takes a timeout. It's funny, and yesterday in the quarterfinals, DC Truck Stop coach Darryl Stanley said that he thought his team played really well, maybe close to their A game, but he thought Revolver played their A game too. And when Revolver plays their A game, if you play your best, you're probably not going to beat them. Revolver has not played their A game today.
Yeah,
the question is, has Ring played good enough, and will they play well enough in these final 2 points?
I think we've talked about the missed opportunities that have snuck away from them earlier in this game that they could have capitalized on and might result in a 2-goal swing the other way. But like you said, we just got to see how these last 2 points play out. That turnover from Joy getting a little greedy and shooting over that first phase of the ring wall. I was surprised to see that decision. I think Ashland is usually a little more conservative in these moments, but he's also got the responsibility now of locking down his man and trying to get the disc back.
You have to think Martin Cochran is contemplating who's going to be on the field for Revolver if Ring scores here. Sure, Denardis and Allison are thinking about that as well, but first things first, Ring needs to convert. Yannick to McAllister.
You see how much space the Ring cutters are giving everyone at the back of the stack, just not even getting involved, leaving all the room at the front of the stack for the handlers to work and weave together.
Foul called. For a second, I thought Yannick was calling another timeout. Noah Saul to Misha Freystadter. A Ring break to tie it at 14 all.
Just a ton of physicality in these small little three-man weaves. We saw Noah Saul and George Stubbs just locking up body to body, perfectly okay with that level of contact. And then Saul ultimately getting the key up line there, and Stubbs with the pat on Saul's back, recognizing, hey, you got me on that one.
It's a game to 15. There's 1 point left. Ring will be on D, Revolver on O. The fourth straight semifinal here at 2018 Club Nationals that goes down to Universe Point. Pony over Sockeye in the first men's semi. Both mixed semis went to Universe. Mixtape over Snake Country. Amp over Space Heater. And let's see what the 7 on the line are gonna look like.
We see, looking at Revolver, we've got Joy, Friedman, Lindsley, Higgins, Antoine Davis, Marcelo Sanchez, and Joel Schlackett.
You surprised Cassidy Rasmussen's not out there?
Very surprised. I still think he should be playing offense for Revolver this year, but that's a whole separate discussion.
Nethercutt, McAllister, Freystadter, Williams, Noah Saul, Justin Allen, and Joey Cretella are the 7 that Mike Denardis and David Allison are gonna roll with. Ring has had a number of these moments against Machine and pool play.
Against Ring in the semifinal 2 years ago.
Revolver.
Revolver.
Yeah. Against Colony at the World Championships in Ohio this past July. Justin Allen to pull.
Junkie look to start here. From the Ring defense, clogging the lanes, taking away those early isolations. And now the Ring defenders settling into their man-to-man assignments.
Saul clamps down on Friedman. Nethercutt's on Joy. McAllister and Schlackett. And there's a bobble, and Lindsley hangs on past the bidding Cretella. Davis and Freystadter one-on-one. Maybe a contact call. Freystadter, did he call a stall?
Yeah, he believes he stalled him.
You stand as me or playing as a contest? That's fast. Stays there.
Decisive ruling there from Wally Kwong, keeping this game moving.
Davis took off. Instead, it's Lindsley under. Looking for Higgins. Revolver is back in the finals on a sensational grab from Simon Higgins to close out Ring. An epic conclusion to another great battle between these prestigious programs.
That's a SportsCenter Top 10 nominee right there. The game on the line. A berth to the finals on the line. And Simon Higgins making his presence known with Revolver's first Huck goal since the first half.
For the third year in a row, Revolver ends Ring's quest in the semis. 2 of those 3 years have been on Universe. And Revolver survives after getting broken at 14-13. Ring as close as you can get again, but ultimately falling short, and Revolver stays perfect in USA Ultimate Club Nationals semis. They're 9-0 in the semis, and they'll play Pony tomorrow. The 2018 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate, providing Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. Visit VC Ultimate on the web at vcultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Wow, another classic in the semifinals between Ring and Revolver. San Francisco wins it 15-14. One of the Revolver captains who's got a crazier weekend than most could imagine. Lucas Dahlman down on the field with Megan Tormey.
Thanks so much, Evan. You surprised your team by being here, but your wife surprised you by not canceling all the flights here after the early birth of your twin sons. Tell me a little bit about what it means to you to have been here for that grind.
It means, I don't know, I can't put it into words. It means a lot. Yeah, my wife, Kel, surprised me by saying, hey, I didn't cancel that flight, and I think you should go. And yeah, the team just, I've never felt that embrace physically, mentally, emotionally from that team before. And to literally pick me up after, I don't know how many times I have to prove to them, right? Like, let me throw this turnover again. Let me drop this one over here. Really play for me. This team is something special. Really fun to be a part of.
What were some of the micro adjustments throughout the game that led to you eking out that victory?
I think it started from the beginning when Ring really punched first, right? They punched first, and you talk about the easy cliche of like, well, did we think this game was going to be easy? Obviously none of us thought that, but maybe we were playing like it. And so there was only one route for the rest of the game, and that was the hard road. And we had to take it and full steam ahead. And I think the defense adjusted, our defense adjusted, and really made things hard for them and kept their O-line out for long, long points. And hats off to our O-line for pushing them and putting that O-line back on the field so we can get some more breaks.
Well, you were definitely pushed to the brink this game. What are some of the lessons that you will take from this game into your game against Pony tomorrow?
I think the number one lesson and something that I've learned is just gratitude. Gratitude for every single point and just, it sounds cliche, just for the warm-ups, man. Just for this, this night that we're going to have of just hanging out and this relishing each other, win or lose. And that was important to me because win or lose, I wanted to be a part of this huddle. And it means a lot to me to be a part of this team. And I think a lesson we're going to take is just every point is special. And I think that's a simple lesson that we need to take.
Well, congrats on so many things. Congrats on this victory. Congrats on being a dad, and congrats on marrying an amazing woman who let you be here.
Truly.
All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow. Go be with your team.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, back to you, Evan.
Great stuff, guys. Lucas, don't ever take those hospital bracelets off. They'll fall off in a few weeks, but you keep them on as long as you can to remind yourself of the moment. And speaking of moments, our Discraft play of the game, Lindsley to Higgins. He had it all the way.
A lot of trust there, certain amount of blade on it. There's not going to be a second attempt. Either Higgins is going to stab it or he's going to miss it. Lindsley puts it on the spot. Higgins makes the play.
For the third year in a row, Ring of Fire believes and then falls short. Cap off Ring's 2018 season of near misses.
I think they have a lot to do in terms of understanding what their offensive identity is when things get tough. We saw some of their star players just miss simple execution down the stretch. And I think that's going to be a great working point and learning point as they look to build going into next year.
Both mixed semis have gone to Universe. Both men's semis have gone to Universe. Ladies, no pressure. 8:30 Eastern, Brute Squad and Molly Brown. Boston and Denver for a spot in the finals. And then USA Ultimate After Dark, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. Fury and Riot, San Francisco and Seattle. We've got a heck of a night ahead of us. But for now, we congratulate Revolver, and we say so long for Ian Toner and Megan Tormey. I'm Evan Leffler. Final score of this men's semi, Revolver 15, Ring 14. All games airing on the ESPN network, streaming live on the ESPN app. To watch it on replay, download the app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.